Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we are diving into a topic that could have a massive impact on millions of Social Security beneficiaries across the United States. And honestly, this is one of those updates that feels like it has been a long time coming. If you are receiving Social Security retirement benefits right now, or you are planning to claim them in the near future while still doing some kind of work, then this discussion is going to matter to you in a very real and very direct way. Because what we are talking about today is a proposed change that could potentially allow seniors to keep more of their hard-earned money every single month and every single year without seeing their benefits reduced because of additional income. Now, let's slow this down and really understand what is going on here, because this is not just a small technical adjustment in the system. This is something lawmakers are actively discussing that could remove one of the most controversial rules tied to Social Security retirement benefits, a rule that has been debated for years and, in the eyes of many people, has punished seniors for continuing to work. And I want to be very clear from the beginning. This is not something that has been finalized yet, but it is something that has been introduced and is now being talked about at a legislative level, which means it is absolutely something worth paying attention to. What we are talking about specifically is a proposed repeal of what is known as the Social Security Earnings Test. Now, if you have never heard of the earnings test before, you are not alone, because a lot of people only discover it after they retire and start collecting benefits, and by that point, it can come as a very unpleasant surprise. The earnings test is basically a rule that limits how much money you can earn from work, while also receiving Social Security retirement benefits before you reach your full retirement age. And if you go over that limit, the government reduces your benefits. To make this even more real and understandable, let's break it down in simple terms. Imagine you decide to start collecting Social Security benefits early, maybe at age 62, but you still want to work part-time or even full-time because you need extra income, or you simply want to stay active. Under the current system, there is a specific income threshold that you are allowed to earn each year without any penalty. For example, in recent estimates, that limit has been around a little over $23,000 annually for individuals who have not yet reached full retirement age. Now, here is where things get controversial. If you earn more than that threshold, Social Security does not just ignore the extra income. Instead, they reduce your benefit payments. And the reduction is not small or symbolic. In many cases, for every $2 you earn above the limit, your benefits can be reduced by $1. That means if you are just trying to earn a little extra money to keep up with rising costs, you could end up losing a significant portion of your monthly Social Security check. And this is exactly where the frustration comes in for so many people, because on the surface, it feels like a punishment for working. It feels like you are being told that if you try to improve your financial situation, your retirement benefits will be reduced as a consequence. And that is why this rule has been criticized so heavily over the years by retirees, financial experts, and policymakers alike. Now, according to the information being discussed, there is new legislation that has been introduced which aims to completely eliminate this earnings test for Social Security retirement beneficiaries. This proposal is being introduced by lawmakers, including Senator Rick Scott, and the legislation is known as the Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act. Just the name itself gives you a sense of what the intention behind this proposal is meant to be. It is designed around the idea of giving seniors more freedom to work without fear of losing their benefits. If this legislation were to pass, it would essentially mean that seniors receiving Social Security retirement benefits could earn as much income as they want from work without seeing their benefits reduced due to the earnings test. In other words, there would no longer be a penalty for working while receiving Social Security before full retirement age. Now, let's pause here for a moment and really think about what that would mean in real life. Imagine you are a retiree who still feels healthy enough to work a few days a week, maybe in retail, consulting, driving, freelancing, or even running a small business. Under the current system, you have to carefully track your income so that you do not cross a line that could reduce your benefits. You are constantly calculating, constantly watching your earnings, and sometimes even turning down work just to avoid penalties. But under this proposed change, that stress would be completely removed. You would be able to work freely without worrying that Social Security is going to reduce your monthly check because you earned a bit more money. That alone would be a major psychological relief for many seniors, especially those who are trying to balance rising living costs with fixed retirement income. And that brings us to another very important part of this conversation, which is why this issue is even being discussed right now in the first place. Over the past several years, the cost of living has increased significantly. Everything from groceries to rent, utilities, healthcare, insurance, transportation, and basic household goods has become more expensive. For many seniors who rely heavily on Social Security, those increases have created real financial pressure. Because of that pressure, more and more retirees have made the decision to go back to work or continue working longer than they originally planned. Some are working part-time just to cover basic bills. Others are working to help support family members. And, in some cases, people are working simply to avoid falling behind on essential expenses. But here is the problem. Even as seniors are being pushed back into the workforce due to economic conditions, the earnings test still remains in place. That means the system is, in a sense, still designed around an older economic reality, where retirement was more stable and costs were more predictable. Today, however, many retirees are living in a very different financial environment, and that mismatch is creating frustration. Supporters of this proposed change argue that if seniors are willing and able to work, they should not be penalized for doing so. They believe that retirement should not be a system that discourages productivity or limits financial opportunity. Instead, they argue it should support flexibility, allowing people to decide for themselves how much they want to work without interference from benefit reductions. On the other side, there are also discussions and debates about how removing the earnings test could impact the Social Security system overall. Some policymakers raise questions about long-term funding, fairness, and how benefits should be structured across different age groups. These are complex issues, and they are part of the broader national conversation about how Social Security should evolve in the coming years. But what makes this particular proposal so interesting is that it focuses specifically on freedom and flexibility for seniors. It does not reduce benefits, it does not change eligibility, and it does not take money away from current payments. Instead, it simply removes a restriction on how much someone can earn while receiving benefits before reaching full retirement age. Now, there is also an emotional side to this conversation that cannot be ignored. Many people feel that seniors who have already spent decades working, paying taxes, and contributing to the economy should not be placed under additional restrictions once they begin receiving benefits. There is a strong sentiment that retirement should represent financial dignity, not financial limitation. At the same time, we also have to acknowledge that not every retiree is in the same situation. Some individuals rely entirely on Social Security, while others have savings, pensions, or additional income sources. That is why policies like this tend to affect people in different ways depending on their personal financial circumstances. Another important point being discussed is how this change would interact with other programs. While this proposal specifically targets Social Security retirement benefits, it does not currently include programs like SSI or SSDI. That means individuals receiving disability benefits would still be subject to different income rules and limitations, such as substantial gainful activity thresholds. And for many people in those programs, those limits are also a major point of frustration. This is why some advocates are already asking whether future reforms could extend similar flexibility to other Social Security programs as well. But for now, the current proposal is focused strictly on retirement benefits and the earnings test tied to them. If we zoom out for a moment, what we are really looking at here is part of a much larger conversation about retirement in modern society. The traditional idea of retirement, where someone stops working completely at a fixed age and lives entirely on benefits or savings, is no longer realistic for a large portion of the population. Today's retirees are often more active, more engaged, and more likely to work in some capacity than previous generations. And that shift is exactly why this proposal is gaining attention. It reflects a growing recognition that retirement is not one-size-fits-all anymore. Some people want to fully retire and relax. Others want to keep working, either for financial reasons or personal fulfillment. And many people fall somewhere in between. So, as this legislation continues to move through discussion stages, the big question becomes whether policymakers are ready to modernize the system to reflect that reality. Will they remove restrictions that many see as outdated, or will they maintain the current structure in order to preserve existing rules and balance concerns? At this stage, nothing is finalized, but the introduction of the Senior Citizens Freedom to Work Act has definitely sparked conversation. And for millions of Americans who are either already collecting Social Security or preparing to do so, this is a development worth watching closely. As always, I will continue to follow this story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. These kinds of policy discussions can evolve quickly, and any changes could have a direct impact on monthly retirement income for a large number of people. So make sure you stay tuned, stay informed, and keep an eye on how this progresses. If you are in or near retirement, or if you have family members who are, this is absolutely something you will want to keep track of because even small changes in Social Security rules can make a big difference over time in financial planning and monthly budgeting. Thank you so much for watching and reading through this update. I really appreciate your time, and I hope this helped you better understand what is being discussed right now around Social Security and the potential changes that could affect millions of beneficiaries across the country. If you want more updates like this, make sure you stay connected, because I will keep bringing you the latest developments as they unfold.